Very positive. I've been to a couple of these diving talks, seminars, and they're fantastic. You have a lot of very talented people actually presenting there, giving very interesting information about the latest developments in diving. And it's, of course, a great opportunity to mix with very influential, very interesting people as well. Extremely positive. I think it's unusual in these type of events in that it has a very short, sharp presentations. Typically, the presentations are just 20 minutes long, and they're coming in quick succession. So you're getting a lot of information very quickly. In many cases, you go to diving symposiums and presentations are an hour long or more, and you can see the audience attention wavers. The format of the diving talks works well. Yes, a lot, which is very good. Not only the people who are attending as just there to observe, but also the other speakers as well. Because you've got a relatively high number of speakers compared to the number of participants, because there's so many different presentations in the day, you get a lot of opportunity to meet some very interesting people in a very positive way. I think anytime you get people together to share the latest thinking, it goes very well. And that's exactly what happens at diving talks. You're getting some high-level people there talking about their latest research, what their plans are, all this kind of stuff. And having that face-to-face interaction is really valuable. It's much better than just a pure internet-based event. You really can't replace face-to-face interactions, especially when it comes to networking and building contacts. There are a lot of very good speakers there, and I struggle to pick any one of them. I'd say a couple that particularly I enjoyed. I liked hearing about the latest plans for DEEP, which is basically allowing humans to live underwater, which Phil Short did. Becky Kagan-Schott did fantastic stuff about her work in photography in the polar regions in particular. I thought that was fascinating. Interacting with fellow leads from the diver training world, Mark Powell and Kat Brown. That was a very interesting topic of discussion, so enjoyed that immensely. Pete Mesley, his work on wreck photography, fantastic. Simon Mitchell, always a star, along with David Dulett, who was talking about the latest in diving decompression. So I could go on. In talking about the sort of the specific subject, I think we've had a cross-panel event before where we talked about technical diving in particular. But this event was more generic, I'd say, about training philosophies. And what came across really was how much we have in common. Basically, there aren't that many different ways to train someone to go underwater. So most of the training agencies have a very similar philosophy. Plus, we all tend to be influenced by the pan-industry standards, such as the ISO standards, RSTC standards, RTC standards. And so we're all teaching broadly along the same lines. And so in that respect, you're not going to find big arguments, as I think some people might have expected, between the training agencies. I suppose this is social side of things, to actually meet old friends, make new ones, and also going to Lisbon is lovely, a beautiful place. Very likely, yes. So as I say, I've been to 2 now, and they've been both very positive. So I may very well, I hope. I think, like many people in the world of diving, I just got fascinated with the underwater world. The thing that attracted me to diving in the first place was seeing marine life. I know some people were into wrecks and stuff, but for me, it was the marine life. And once I saw it firsthand, I realized how important it was to protect it, especially when you, as a diver, will sometimes see damage that has been done. So I really wanted to do something about it. Well, PADI started Aware many years ago when we got to the point where we were realizing we could influence a huge number of people. We were training millions of people and thought do more than just train them about diving. We should really give them an understanding of the importance of the marine environment and what they can do to look after it. So we wanted to have that influence, do good, and it's done very well. Yes, we are working on multiple projects, but some of our main themes are we are trying to preserve sharks and rays in particular, because I think for many people who are not divers, sharks don't always get good press. And we as divers understand that they are not just mindless killing machines, they're actually fascinating animals. And because they're apex predators, they're critical to the health of the ocean in general. So we really have gone to a lot of trouble to draw attention to the dangers that they face. Things like shark finning, for example, is very bad for the shark species as a whole, all of the species, because it's just so wasteful apart from anything else. So we've managed to get a lot of attention towards that through things like CITES. We've established more protection for many species of sharks that didn't have it before. Another big initiative we have is trying to ensure that the oceans remain as clean as possible. So we do various projects which are along that theme to try and prevent waste going into the water and to help remove it where it does happen, and in particular to monitor specific sites around the world so that we can draw attention where there is a real risk. That's been very beneficial. Doing things like beach cleanups in the past. Uh, well, one thing which is not really a challenge is persuading divers to take part and getting them to realize there's something that needs to be done here, because most people are aware of that straight away. So getting support from the diving community is not difficult. I think more you are trying to persuade people who don't see under the water, don't see what we see. We are like mankind's ambassadors under the sea, and we see what's going on. But people who have never put their head under the water aren't as aware of the problems there. And so trying to persuade people and organizations who may be, in some cases, inadvertently putting pollutants and litter into the sea to stop doing it or to see what the problem is, that's one of the biggest challenges.
Hmm.
Well, the one I mentioned earlier is a good example. Getting several species of sharks put onto the CITES list, give them greater protection. That's a big effort, and it's not just entirely our doing, it's an international collaboration, but that gives those really worldwide protection and really raises the importance of looking after those species. So that's a good example of some of the specific work we've done. It's very rewarding when you finally see something like that happen, because it takes a lot of effort to move that body because of all the different countries involved and the different priorities they have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are numerous organizations that work towards improving the health of the ocean. For Project Aware in particular, they can go to the PADI AWARE Foundation website, and they can find lots of information about that. It's not only for PADI divers. We are very happy to involve anybody from any diver training agency, and also non-divers too. There's lots of things they can do. And just looking around that site and doing some research themselves with their computer, they can pick up a lot of information. Find your nearest PADI dive center that does that kind of thing, go in and ask them, and they'll tell you specifically what kind of projects may be going on. There's lots of ways to get involved.
Okay. And what's one question you wish more people would ask about your area that could spark an interesting conversation or important conversation?
I'd say the main thing is to influence the people who are not divers. The people who are divers get it as a rule, and they're aware of what the problems are, and supportive of the kind of things we're trying to achieve. But influencing the non-divers and people who just see the world's waters as resources, things that they can use and take from, making it clear that these are not just endless resources. You can't do whatever you like to them without causing harm. You need to look after them. You need to have a plan so that they're going to last for generations to come.
Okay, and so more into the diving talk specifically, what was your overall experience?